For gamers who preferred the digitized setting of one-on-one battles, there was no better time to be alive than during the mid-1990s. While Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter II will be talked about revolutionizing the genre, SNK's offerings with the Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, and Samurai Showdown franchises can't be denied as anything short of innovative games that, while not as popular as their counterparts, pushed the figurative envelope and greatly inspired its competition. The King of Fighters series came from those aforementioned SNK creations in 1994. My first taste of this glorious franchise based on team battle wasn't at an arcade or even on my home consoles at the time, but thanks to a friend who had a copy made for Nintendo's Game Boy. The King of Fighters 95 became an obsession of mine once I got the game for my birthday a few weeks later. As the years progressed, I played every Western release of the King of Fighters at any arcade I could find, or more conveniently on my PlayStation and PlayStation 2 consoles. The King of Fighters 14, released in 2016, was meant to be something of a new beginning to the franchise. With gameplay changes, a new story arc, and a different character model design, King of Fighters 14 set a solid standard for the franchise during gaming's 8th generation without changing the established fighting dynamics. The cross-generational announcement of the King of Fighters 15 promised to be more of what 14 had to offer, and then some. And this old-school fighting gamer was ready to see what SNK had to offer during this round. The minds behind the King of Fighters 14 look to keep the fundamentals that have made previous games in the series a success while implementing some new mechanics to give more casual gamers an easier route to glory, a strategy that continues with the King of Fighters 15. There are a variety of options both offline and online, including a story mode and ranked online play respectively. Complementing the online options are casual bouts, lobbies and rooms, and even a training facility where gamers can join in helping each other learn some of the best tricks of the trade. The single-player options aren't necessarily strong or revolutionary, including the aforementioned story mode that can last a gamer about 20 to 30 minutes depending on the difficulty level and how well they handle the final boss. The general tutorial section is relatively bare bones, while the character-based mission mode provides players a set of 5 different combos for each character available. A majority of the trophies and achievements are built around grinding, including reaching level 16 in ranked mode, finishing 20 fights with a super special maneuver outside of PvP bouts and training mode, and unlocking 10 albums for the in-game music. A majority of my time was spent playing online, enjoying the rollback netcode and some stellar fights against opponents both on my level and beyond. Most trophies will be attained, including finishing the story mode with more than just one team, and getting through those mildly grind-heavy requirements. Just like the King of Fighters 14, 15's core mechanics are rooted in the past while updating certain aspects to really flesh out an already incredible fighting system. There are the typical quarter circle joystick analog stick movements everyone is used to, as well as heavy and light strikes that actually affect the effectiveness of certain moves to either increase a maneuver's power while making it a little sluggish if the player taps the heavy button instead of the light, or vice versa. Players can dodge roll through attacks by hitting a punch and kick button simultaneously, turn successful blocks into reversals or cancels, and even perform a variety of overpowered attacks connected to a meter at the bottom of the screen, known as climax super special maneuvers. As noted earlier, King of Fighters 14 didn't play it completely safe with the fundamentals by implementing something that would benefit gamers struggling to pull off rudimentary combos with the rush combo system, a mechanic that returns in 15 as well. By tapping the light punch button while near an opponent, the character will unleash an automated combo that can be topped by a special move if the player has a bar of the aforementioned power meter filled. The rush combo is a good idea, but in practice does nothing to really help the player improve as the automated combos cannot be turned off and may become a crutch made even more emphatic due to the developers upping the damage output of said combos compared to King of Fighters 14. Add that to the fact the actual method in utilizing the rush combo can leave a player wide open for an attack more often than not if the opponent is smartly blocking, which is made even worse when someone executes the combo by accident in the heat of battle, as it can be easily activated if the player isn't careful. There's also the max mode that, with the tap of both punch buttons, gives the character a chance to unleash extra powered versions of regular attacks. Though EX moves can be used outside of max mode for the cost of half a bar without being as powerful as they would if max mode is activated. Unlike Rush Combo, max mode actually feels like something that truly adds to the gameplay, as a well-timed activation and utilization of an unblocked attack can mean the difference between failure and victory during a tight fight. The big difference between this version's max mode and 14's is that it costs 2 meter bars to activate instead of 1. Also, canceling a special in max mode will reduce the damage output while upping a character's speed temporarily in the form of quick mode. Added to the combat tactics are Shatter Strikes, a maneuver that when it hits, drops an opponent to their knees and leaves them wide open for a combo extension, or allows the player to armor through an attack after blocking to unleash one of their own, opening up an adversary for a retaliatory onslaught. And just like the games before it in the franchise, 15 provides a good amount of options and characters when it comes to keeping things fresh for hours on end, even if the roster is smaller than the previous game's base offering. A majority of the returning characters play like their earlier counterparts, while new characters such as Dolores feel right at home with the rest of the cast. There are a variety of modes for players who enjoy things offline, including the simple versus mode, where the player can fight the computer, local players, or even watch the computer combat itself. As noted, mission mode focuses on teaching players each character's go-to combos, while the tutorial is a rather rudimentary explanation of the combat's mechanics. Story mode, essentially the game's version of arcade mode with team-driven endings, which are illustrated sequences filled with text boxes for each official team, and even a few secret endings if the player can figure out some of those odd pairings, leaves a lot to be desired in terms of giving longtime King of Fighter fans a narrative worth remembering. From an online perspective, there are several options when it comes to fighting: ranked, casual, and room, as well as an online training facility. While the first two online features are pretty much what one would expect, as players have the option of fighting in both team and singles battles, the room option has changed greatly in comparison to King of Fighters 14. Gone are the lobbies where multiple players can fight at one time. In its place is a waiting room of sorts where players line up and wait for their turn, a la the old school arcades and the recent Mortal Kombat's King of the Hill mode. There are a pair of interesting sub-options that can be applied to these lobbies in regards to fighting, because only in room battles can players participate in draft or party fights. Draft battle sees each non-spectating player pick a character for their team, with that character chosen becoming unavailable to select by the opposing gamer or teammate, meaning if a player's opponent chooses someone's main, the second player will have to adjust their strategy, or choose someone they're not familiar with in hopes of winning. Party is directly lifted from King of Fighters 14, where up to 6 players in a room will pick one character to control and attempt to help their team survive. Though it may be less likely to see draft or party in the description of a room, they are the most enjoyable options in regards to non-ranked action. Thankfully, the netcode is practically flawless, with fights rarely suffering from lag no matter the connection quality shown before a bout. The biggest problem with online play is just having to wait for a fight at times, as there will be connection errors when attempting to join a lobby or agreeing to a ranked fight. Also, there's an odd glitch that happens rarely when a character will do their death cry when having a slither of health to falsely indicate the round is over. In a lot of ways, SNK played it safe with the latest offering in this franchise, remembering the old phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. By being conservative on the modes and character gameplay changes, the latest King of Fighters lets its gameplay do the talking in grand fashion, both offline and, most importantly, online. For longtime players, stepping into the latest world of the King of Fighters will feel like old times in the best way possible. A majority of everyone's favorite characters play as great as they did during the franchise's height of popularity. For gamers unfamiliar with the franchise, this is the type of fighting game you can pick up and play without much thought, but is ready for you to delve into and find out who you enjoy and don't in the heat of battle. Though the game doesn't feature a grandiose amount of modes similar to Mortal Kombat 11, the online action stands head and shoulders above so many other games in the genre. though offline players may see this iteration not holding their attention for years to come. Just like its predecessor, King of Fighters 15 mostly refuses to rock the boat, while emphasizing a fighting engine that works just as well now as it did over a decade ago, truly being the king of kings in the fighting game genre that shouldn't be ignored.
Final round! Ready? Go! That was a nail-biter! Keep an eye on this matchup!